And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's the Marketing Gem, back after a slightly extended Easter break than was planned for, but these things sometimes happen. And today I'm joined by Catherine Baldwin. Let's come and say hi, Catherine.
Hello! Nice to be here once again. I think we all benefited from the break, and we've all come to fresh with some new ideas, all about not just marketing, but small businesses generally, and looking forward to the chat.
Okay, that's great. And the other person who briefly you saw there for a moment ago, you might not recognise him, is Kevin Lynch, the Sans Beard.
Yes, well, the clock goes forward, the beard must go. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Just a little bit to say myself, got a background, a big background working with technology companies, solving people's problems, and of course, marketing is the number one, not so much problem, but opportunity that people need to focus on.
Yeah, I think that's the right word, opportunity. And one of the things we've done over the Easter break is take time to sort of like do some further background reading and see what's current and trending. And one article or several articles that we've read have all talked about how it's important to integrate both your PR, your traditional marketing, your online media, and emphasising the content you put on it. So today what we're going to do is take a run through some of these kind of key big points and pick out one or two key issues under each of these headings that we like and want to emphasize for everyone. As usual, you can get in touch with us via Twitter at The Marketing Gem. That's Twitter at The Marketing Gem, where we look forward to seeing your comments and hearing what you have to say. Catherine, why didn't you start off with what some of your key points are, very briefly?
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole idea of marketing is basically telling people what you do. We're looking today about all the different sorts of strategies. I come from a background of graphics and print, so what I do is very much printing-based, paper-based, but very traditional business cards, flyers, posters, leaflets, brochures, and all that sort of thing. But that's not to say that that could work on a standalone basis. So you need to embrace all different sorts of marketing with all the different sorts of media. And one of those is social media, which has really come to the fore over the last few years. So if you're familiar with some of the various different social and business media platforms that there are out there, then great, you're probably already doing it. But there's a wealth of information out there, and it's really a matter of finding something that works for you. It's good to have a LinkedIn page. It's good to tell people. It's a bit of a history about yourself, where you've been, and what you're working on at the moment, as well as having a presence perhaps on Facebook, perhaps on Twitter, perhaps on Instagram, perhaps on Pinterest. But certain things aren't going to work across the board. You have to experiment a little and see what works for you.
Okay, and Kevin, what are your thoughts on how all these big kind of topic areas of social media, PR, the content, paper, etc., all kind of fit in?
Well, the thing is, they really do have to fit in like a jigsaw. Consistency, if our esteemed colleague Jonathan was here, he would be talking about the importance of consistency, and that consistency, because every part of your business sends a message about what you do, positive or negative, and what you need to do to ensure your customers have faith in your offer is to make sure that that message is consistent, whether it be the person who answers a phone, whether it be a business card, or whether it be a thank you for your order letter. They all should speak to the same elements of interacting with you as a business, and and after that, it's horses for courses. Which are the channels of communication that work best for your particular business to address the customers in the space that you want to serve?
Yeah, and of course it is a case of mixing it all up, isn't it? It's about getting the right kind of content with memorable stories, and also content that's relevant for the people who want to read about your particular business area. But it's also about the right content on paper, in social media, in network marketing, and so on and so forth, isn't it, Catherine?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, looking at what's going to work for you is essential. I mean, one of the things that I've tried to look at really is sort of reaching more people that I'm not necessarily going to meet on a day-to-day basis. So I use the platform Hootsuite, and I do postings usually for an hour or so in the morning to all the various different bits and pieces that I'm involved in, and one of those is obviously my business. So I post to Facebook, to Twitter, to Google Plus, and to LinkedIn. It's usually the same post to all of those, but I shake it up a little bit. Sometimes it's a bit of an advert for the company. Sometimes it's an advert for a collaboration that I'm involved with somebody else. So those things obviously point to the website. The websites obviously have more information than if people are interested in getting in touch. But also I post different things, just some general interest things sometimes that can catch somebody's eye, and that can be a way into a conversation then, and perhaps some further interaction. So I look at sort of making connections in that sense, and obviously through the Link for Growth network as well, who of course sponsors the show that we're doing. You know, there's an awful lot of connections out there, so just including somebody in you know, a tag on a Facebook, or you know, including them in a Twitter message, can make that message go further still if they then share it with everybody else. Perfect example of this is the Big Munch, who are they have one of the trailers in Watford High Street, and they do crepes, all sorts of crepes. They do savoury crepes, sweet crepes. Every day they post something, and every day they include a whole load of people in that post on Twitter, usually with a nice bright coloured picture as well. And including other people then means, well, you know, I quite like that tweet. I don't mind promoting that. I'm going to send it on to somebody else. So that one tweet, which includes maybe 8 different people, suddenly goes on to perhaps 8 more people from each of those connections, and so the word spreads. So the next time someone's in town, they, oh, the Big Munch, where have I heard that name? Oh, I know. Yes, somebody said they were really good. So so it's an easy and free way of promoting your business and getting the word out there, and also making some connections.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin, yeah, PR is also going to be a major part of any campaign, isn't it? It's about creating the right kind of news stories around your product or brand, even if you're a small SME. Yes,
public relations, press relations, they're important. As somebody who's written the odd press release here and there, I found that it's very important to understand the journalist point of view. You've got to tell the story in terms of who, what, where, when, why, and you've got to avoid the dog bites man. You know, that's not news. Man bites dog is news. You know, you've really got to, you know, that's in terms of your press. Public relations, that's very much about making sure that you're part of a community. So, for example, here in Chesham, there's a printing business. Oh, he's going to kill me now. I can't remember the name. Oh, I hate it when this happens. Run by my good friend Cliff, and he sponsors the rugby club. And but there you go. Notice I have an emotional attachment to all this stuff. I feel so embarrassed. The trouble is, somebody once said for printing, think ink, and that's just blattered my printing head. Catherine, say something while I look them up.
Well, you can advertise my company instead if you like, Kevin. I don't mind. My company's CB Graphics, by the way, just in case you slip your mind. That's. No, I was going to pick up actually on something you said about press releases. A way around actually, you know, having a journalist that perhaps writes something that isn't particularly relevant to your company. Write your own press release. You know, very often journalists these days are a bit busy. They don't usually come out to do interviews or promotional pieces. So write your own press release and send it off to the papers with a you know, an eye-catching picture and perhaps a promotion of some sort as well, so that people read the piece, find out who you are, what you do, and actually think, oh, well, if I take this in, I'd get something off or I get something free. So that's a good idea. Take control of the press release.
Yeah, I mean, both Catherine and I have written lots of press releases for local charities because we're both tangentially involved in that sector, and the importance of a good photo for getting the article included it cannot be stressed enough. But the other thing is, the message you put out there has got to fit in very much with both the charities, in this case the charities' messages and brand values, but also it's got to touch a chord with the journalist. And if you're a commercial organisation, that's even harder to do. I think it's perhaps one of the reasons why local press want press releases submitted to them is because now that they are much more tied for time, a lot of it is almost copy and paste, unfortunately. The old art of someone sitting there for, coming out, taking the photographs, or the photographer coming out, taking the photographs and doing an interview with a journalist, those days are basically gone. The easiest way now is to send out a press release with a great picture on it and put it out there. And if that's the case with charities, it's certainly going to apply to SMEs where you're trying to sell or promote a commercial product, unless you have lots of money to spend, when they might well send out a journalist and help you write an ad commercial or something like that. Catherine?
Yeah, well, yes, I would wholeheartely agree. As you said, unless you've got lots of money, or perhaps unless perhaps you're doing a major event, what Kevin touched on with, supporting a local sporting.
Inklink. Who else but Inklink? That would be the thing. Inklink for Chesham Rugby. What a fantastic print services company, and I can personally attest to the virtue of the man who owns it. He is a great community guy and completely gets it, and fantastic person to be able to work with.
Brilliant. And now he's had a nice plug as well.
Especially after my failure earlier. Deservedly.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, supporting a local sports team of some sort, getting your branding on their clothes and being a part of their promotion, but also being a part of the events in local communities as well. So if you're putting on an event of some sort, the press are very, very keen to link businesses with charities, and it does everybody a load of good then as well. The company, the business is doing something philanthropic, they're paying it forward if you like, they're doing something, putting something out there, making connections in the community, and it does everybody a lot of good. There's a feel-good factor. It's people look on the company in a much more social, community-based light, and perhaps want to do more business with them. So, yeah.
The other thing, of course, I just want to talk about the press is that, especially in my sector, quite often you can actually be the journalist and you get to write your own story. So, if there's a magazine that you read that speaks to your sector and your people, and you've got a story to tell, pitch the story. You won't get paid very much for it, but you'll be able to absolutely insert your marketing messages, bake it right into the story. I mean, you have to a certain degree, be dispassionate, but you can certainly set the context and the environment for which your product will appear to be the answer. So, with the diminution of the number of journalists, it just means you just need to say, well, I'm not going to be in the Watford Observer, but I can be in UK Optical Magazine, writing about, great new measuring technologies and how, the leading distributor is me.
Well, there's any number of trade magazines. There's also obviously local news magazines. Certainly around the Watford, Hertfordshire area, we've got My News, which it goes into every local town district around the area. Whether it's a promotional thing about your company, whether it's a story of some sort. Someone's had a great experience with the company, and perhaps get some quotes for them, some pictures of them, a testimonial of some sort about something that's happened with your company within the community. It's a great promotion, and a lot of the time it's free. As you say, you write the piece, you send it off. If it gets published, well, hey. If it doesn't, you keep trying till it does. Always works.
Find another magazine to submit it to. But of course, the thing is that it's all very well saying, yeah, write an article, but it is also about making sure that you can tell a compulsive story in the article, and the content is relevant for the audience and matches your own brand needs and aspirations. So it can't be a hard sell. It can be how your particular product or service can solve a problem.
Indeed, yeah, you're right. It has to be consistent with your brand. Yeah, so I mean, if you need help, there's any number of content writers who will be able to advise as well. They do it for a living. You do need to be careful sometimes. You do need to be mindful of it, certainly.
And you mustn't name or slag off any of the competition, like rule number 1. You know, in this sense, you're not so much promoting your business, but promoting the marketplace that your business operates in, and you are the obvious winner in that. That's the subtext. So, you know, if it's about optics, you know, let's say it's about glasses, it's important of good optics and, you know, having good metrology in that. That's the message that you're pushing hard. And by the way, my distributorship, we offer one of the best, but, you know, you're supporting the market. You're not trying to gain competitive advantage. You're trying to make the market that you're selling in look a more attractive, positive place to be engaged with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really important. It's not, as you say, it's not the hard sell. It's we are experts in this, and we're giving the free content out in exchange for, if you didn't write the article and get it published, a competitor would. So it's easier if it's for you, because it's raising your profile, sort of thing, because you can always put it in the byline as to how people get in touch with you, or in the intro at the top of the piece, and that may be the only time that your details appear, but it's still enough. The fact that it's been considered worthy of publication by an editor, an independent editor, is often acts as an extra testimonial for you.
Absolutely. I was going to say, moving on from that, you know, offering something free, offering an expert opinion on something can be a fantastic way of letting people know who you are. A great example, I can't remember the chap's name, I think is it something Cayley, but he's a local estate agent, and he also he does a piece in the My News magazines about what's happening in the housing market and advice and what's happening now, what you should be looking for, what you should be doing. There's no particular promotion about his company, as you say, just a little byline down the bottom of who he is and where he's from. But it's actually really quite valuable top tips for people looking to sell. I mean, you could do this either on your own or perhaps collaborate. You know, maybe collaborate with a solicitor or a conveyancer or something. Write a joint piece, so you're promoting two companies at the same time without any hard sell, but offering some free expert opinion.
Yeah, and the other thing is that what James Cayley does to help improve his SEO
yes.
He makes vlogs on a fairly regular basis, which helps improve his which goes onto his YouTube channel, which then in turn improves his web page, SEO rankings and stuff like that. So he's getting a kind of double benefit from it in a very competitive market, you know, because lettings and estate agency is incredibly competitive.
Gosh, yes, absolutely. And yes, vlogs are another step in another direction, absolutely. Embrace the video market, stick it on YouTube, links to the website. It all connects at the end of the day, doesn't it?
And we're now getting very close to the animating spirit behind the marketing gem, where, you know, we have people, we have expertise, we want to share it. A very famous chap called Gary Vaynerchuk in America. Most people won't have heard of him, but for a long time he used to do YouTube videos about drinking wine, and that was his thing. And you know, and in the end, he sort of bought into a wine business and stuff like that. I guess another example in the UK would be someone like Martin Lewis, where you know he set up Money Saving Expert, you know, built a community, built rapport with people, you know, got journalistic engagements, you know, made sure that he was always searchable as Martin Lewis Money Saving Expert, and in the end built himself a property that he was able to sell to a large corporate for 70 odd million. So you know, these things that we're saying, they are proven and they create real value. As entrepreneurs, the thing is to commit to it and do it to the best of your ability and connect with your passion. So and fit those things together, and you've got a compelling proposition as an independent business.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we talk a lot about online stuff and everything, but it is important to still, remember the traditional marketing strategies of the 4 Ps or 7 Ps or how many Ps that are currently in vogue and favour, and depending upon which textbook you read, it's a different number of Ps. Place, promotion, product, and
Pricing.
Pricing. That's it. That is the basic 4. But of course, other people then talk about other things as well onto that. So it is very much a case of making sure that that you don't forget the traditional stuff. You don't just become as it were, a social media task where you don't just rely on just Google AdWords to work for you. It's about mixing the whole lot together, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I was just going to mention what the other P's. There's lots of P's actually. We mentioned product, services, price, fees, place, promotion, physical evidence, people, and partners. Very interesting. Those last 2, I think, particularly people and partners. Remembering to use other people, use people's testimonials, use people's referrals, and also partners. You don't have to do this on your own. There's lots of people actually that perhaps you could run some sort of joint promotion together, or as I say, run an event together, run a seminar or conference together, offer some free advice on something. Someone perhaps who's offering some free advice on assessment of a website, perhaps, who can then put somebody in touch with a content writer, and the collaboration can form then to offer people a full service of things. So yeah, there's lots of things to consider.
But don't get too hung up about how many Ps it is. The business model, especially a marketing model, is really only there to act as a guide. You master it. It does not master you. It cannot be a precise prescription, a complete tell-all do to list. Neither can a program like this. What we can do, and what the models do, is offer a framework within which to work. Kevin.
Yes. You've got to just take the various elements of your marketing strategy, synthesize those together, make sure that they're generating the sales that you want, reaching the customers that you want, and if it's not doing that, have a look and pivot to say, what else can we do new? It's the eternal vigilance, and if you're running out of ideas, time to engage with a wider audience. Social media, tweet at the Marketing Gem. We'll be more than happy to throw some well-known, well-trusted ideas. I had a conversation with Diane and another colleague yesterday, and we were talking about just various little bits of marketing collateral to support a campaign, and someone suggested, well, why don't you just make a little model truck thing? So you can easily print that up and have it on a single piece of cardboard, stamp it out, put scissors lines around it, add in a couple of Bostik stickers, stick the whole thing together. You've got a bit of brand engagement while people are building your little truck. Fantastic little things like that. It does. I guess one of my red flags is if it's going to cost a lot of money and you're not sure how you're going to get it back, don't do it.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, and even Catherine, I'm sure you would agree with that, even though you are a beneficiary of people spending money on marketing.
Absolutely, or paper goddess, as I've been known to be branded recently. No, absolutely. Look at your budget. If you really fancy doing something that's incredibly intricate, detailed, delicate, perhaps even to send out to people as a promotion, great, but cost it first. If it's going to cost you a fortune to send it out, and you're really going to get only a small response back, then maybe it's not worth doing. Very often a bog standard flyer or a little postcard, as a lot of people are doing these days, with a simple message on and pointing towards your website, Very often that can be enough. At the very least, a business card. At least then someone's taking you home in their pocket after a meeting, and there's a reference there for a meeting on another day. But yeah, paper has its place. Social media has its place. A combination of the two is a fantastic idea.
Kevin.
So let me throw this out. Say I was having a marketing campaign and I wanted to have. I love bits of moving paper and I love those pop-up 3D cards. Any ideas on what we could do? From an innovative marketing point of view. I mean, I've heard people tell of doing origami storks, but just thinking outside the box, what sort of things can we do imaginative there to create a moment of delight for the person receiving it? Oh, I can't believe it! I've stumped them.
Silence. Well, to be honest, Kevin, the world's your limit. Anything can be done within your budget. It depends who it's for. Obviously, the stalks thing that you've referenced there. I think it was it a baby shower of some sort, or announcing a baby's name or christening of some sort.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a Russian oligarch.
It was it was a fantastic idea and very specific. I mean, some of the invitations that I get involved in for birthdays, weddings, and the such like, you can go to town on them. You can spend a fortune. It can look fantastic. It really just depends on your budget.
Have you ever done a pop-up thing? When people open the envelope and pull it out, the paper unfolds into a 3D shape. Have you ever done anything like that?
I've done pop-out things that pull out either side, and I've done nets for. I haven't printed the pop-up cards, but I've done a lot of coffee table stands, which are incredibly simple to do. So basically just a flat net that sticks together. Also done calendars. You send out a Christmas card as a company, fold it round with a little sticky strip, and it becomes a calendar. Sits on your desk for the rest of the year.
Calendars are a very, very old school thing in Northern Ireland. I mean, for 50 years from 1920 from 80 years from 1920 to the year 2000, a very simple piece of cardboard with your business brand and a very small calendar. For a lot of businesses in Northern Ireland, that was marketing done and dusted.
Absolutely.
On to the next thing.
It still goes on because it's simple, it's cheap, it's simple, and it sits on someone's desk. I did mini ones one year, just little A6 ones. One year, so it wasn't taking up too much desk space, and I say cheap and simple. A little greeting on it as well. What I had that was nice this year from one of my suppliers was a CD case. So you open up the CD case, fold it back on itself, and you've got little cards for each month. You just take each one off as the month goes. Simple little things, but it sits on someone's desk and it's there in their face for the rest of the year, which is just a brilliant, simple little marketing gem.
Yes, and if you talk to a lot of promotion people, they'll talk about the same with these things. Pens with a logo on it and everything. It's like to be picked up and it's used. And actually, with a pen, if they're cheap enough and you have enough of them and you don't mind losing them, they can end up in all sorts of places that you wouldn't normally be able to reach. And you never know if that's going to come to fruition. But again, it can't be done on its own. It's got to be backed up with all the right web content, SEO stuff. It's going to be backed up with the right messaging, the right branding, the right systems behind that branding and everything to make sure you can meet these expanded deliveries. Because it's no good spending a whole lot of money on promotion and then not being able to meet the deliveries of the orders that come in.
Absolutely, yeah. You need a working website. Pretty much most companies, I think, these days would need a working website, even if it's just something simple like contact details and a contact form that people can get hold of you. But no, you're right. It's no good walking around in the rain up and down Watford High Street with a beautifully branded umbrella with your website on. If people go to the website and then think, oh. They've got to be excited once they get there. So yeah, it's got to be consistent all the way through.
Yeah, I'm working with some friends who are rolling out a campaign, and there's bits that they know they're good at, and there's bits that they know they're weak. But one of the things they have is a flow chart for their sales process, and they know exactly how what they're doing fits together, and they've also understood the importance of scalability. so that they are only sending limited targeted amounts that they can get feedback on and follow up on, and then pivot to the next thing if it's not really working. So so I would say before doing the umbrellas and stuff, make sure do a flow chart that shows your marketing process from start to winning the sales, and be very clear on the budgetary points and your return on your marketing, and what you're defining as the success criteria. I mean, one of the numbers that I always two numbers I carry in my head. The first number is that if you have an internet forum with 10,000 people in it, roughly 1,000 of them will be reading it from time to time, and of those 1,000, about 100 of them will actually be actively contributing. So remember that the amount of feedback you get is very small for the amount of outreach you're doing, but the cost of the outreach is tending towards zero. So other factors take precedence. And then the other number is, I think, an industry average response rate for a campaign is something like 5%. So if you send out 100 letters, 5 people will come back to you. You guys got any different kind of feelings on those numbers? Better context?
I say that's about right. Yeah, 5% return on certainly a mail shop campaign. But you can increase that figure if you target it a little more, target a particular industry rather than just a general house to house, house to house with a local newspaper. If you target a little bit more, maybe even look at only doing maybe 25 send-outs a week, but make them to specific people. Even get the names of people that you want to post something to. Put it in I mean, I'm from a graphics side of things, so I'd put it in an eye-catching envelope with a nice font and whatever on the printed address label, and actually target the people you want to get in touch with, people you want to work with. Offer them something as well, a collaboration of some sort. That way you can actually increase your return rates and get a bit more of a higher response, perhaps.
And I'd just like to make the Jonathan point there, which is make sure it's consistent. There's no point in having the most beautiful branded envelopes and stationery, and everything else about your website and your implementation is grotty. Your favorite font to send an email in is Comic Sans. You really need to think this stuff through so it's consistent, and take the big actions. At the end of the day, I always say a PowerPoint is a fraction of the price of a product. That's in technology. So, people go, oh, the presentation was really good. And I always go, well, presentations are cheap and easy. It's delivering product that's hard.
Yes, exactly.
By the way, somebody please don't use Comic Sans.
No, it is the bane of my life as well. Catherine and I both have print design, graphics backgrounds. Catherine's still very much immersed in it, and I'm still also involved to an extent. But what I was going to say is, even big national organisations occasionally get this totally wrong. I was working in an advertising agency, and one of the stories that went out on the Monday morning after a client review, that wasn't one of my clients, I'm glad to say, is the client had insisted that they do an insert, one of these free affluent insert type things that you put in a Sunday newspaper. They paid an awful lot of money with one of the big broadsheet newspapers. So it had roughly, it was in over 500,000 copies, and they got one response from it. And that was because it was the wrong thing for it to be in. It was the wrong place, the wrong time, the wrong idea, the wrong approach, wrong audience. So it is right. Kevin's 5% feels right for a lot of these things, but occasionally you can get it horribly wrong. And if you're busy trying to promote your own business, then a really good marketing consultant or graphic designer, branding consultant will work with you to help you lift your head up from the front of your PC screen and make you look around and help you look around so you get a better understanding of what is happening around you. Kevin, It's time almost to wrap up. You've got to go in a few minutes anyway. Perhaps you'd like to just sum up as to what you think your key points are for marketing.
I think this one, it's consistency. It's no good spending a fortune on stuff, a mail shot that costs £25 because of the mailing and the contents of it, and then you offer a grotty experience. First fix the grotty experience, then spend the money on the marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Catherine, what's yours?
I would say don't be afraid to get out there, whether it's out into the social media world, business media world, or just getting out to meet people generally. Get some information about what's going on around you, whether it's to do with a new network marketing event, whether it's to do with a new company that's opened up, whether it's to do with just getting advice from someone. Don't be afraid to speak to people. There's a whole wealth of information out there, and it's all at your fingertips. Or tweet us, text us, or whatever, and we can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and you can tweet us at the Marketing Gem, which is a nice point to end on, I think. Very briefly, Kevin, your tip of the week?
My tip of the week is, it's been a lot in the news. It's opened in Notting Hill near Ladbroke Grove. It's got a website. It's called Museum of Brands. It was down in Gloucester. It's moved up to London. It's a 2-hour visit, fantastic thing where you can see the history of brands. I'm a great believer in there's nothing new in the world. There's nothing ever new. It's just the same thing reused. Go to the Museum of Brands, have a look and see it. Ideas and things that worked in the past, things that really connected with people, understand why, and say, can I apply this in the future? That's it, really.
Okay, thank you. And Catherine, what's your tip of the week?
I was going to say, Kevin, can you post a link up to point people in the direction of that? That sounds really interesting.
It's www.museumofbrands.com. That's the URL for it. So, but sure, I can tweet that out.
Fantastic. My tip of the week would be, don't underestimate the value of a business card. I know they might seem like old hat, but I'm the paper goddess, so I will promote them. They are really valuable, I think. When you go to any meeting, a face-to-face meeting, you're talking to someone, you want a little reminder of what they've done, and you've got a business card, you've got a little bit of card you can hand over to someone. It feels good, it looks good, goes in the pocket, and when they get home, they're going to pull that out and say, oh, I remember that conversation, great, let's just tap in the website. Otherwise, it all goes out the window. Or people write down on little scraps of paper, and then they lose the bit of paper. Business cards are so valuable still. My top tip.
Okay. Perhaps in future we should just call you the paper goddess.
I can live with that.
Okay, fine. Or perhaps Nigella. But anyway, my tip of the week is be consistent. I know Jonathan would talk about it if he was here. Kevin's alluded to it. But you cannot stress how important this is. And the other thing is that if you're doing social media, is not to do 6 or 7 social media channels. Just do a couple. Say Twitter and Facebook, or Twitter and Snapchat, or Snapchat and Vine. And on top of that, add YouTube in, because of the benefits it will give to you when you link it to your own website, rather than trying to do Snapchat, Facebook, Twine, Pinterest, etc., 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 etc. There are too many of them out there, and the market, that whole market of social media is starting to fragment out to different demographics. So if you've got a younger audience, go for Pinterest probably. If you've got a much more mature audience, perhaps Facebook might be the best channel and place for you to do, or Google Plus or something like that. But do be consistent in what you're saying and your messaging. And the same with sports clubs. Don't just sponsor one charity or one sports club. Sponsor 1 or 2, but not all of them. Because if you sponsor all of them, your message won't get heard because it becomes too diluted. And on that point, it's time to end this week's Marketing Gem. I'd like to say thank you very much to Kevin. Kevin's muted.
And I'll go off the mute and say thank you for having me, Diane.
That's okay. And thank you also to Catherine.
Thank you very much. Going on to my normal name. Have a great week, everyone. See you next week.
Okay. Well, I thought we'd do that, but the Paper Goddess will rule next week because we're doing a paper edition special. With some ideas there about how you can use what might be considered the old-fashioned media to help promote and market your business, but it still has lots of relevance, as Catherine and I can both tell you. So on that point, it's time to say trio, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.